All right then. Good evening, everyone. Let me apologize again for the little difficulty in sometimes that we have with our technology. Well, I don't know if it's a matter of the age that we live in, but for the most part, I have to rely on a lot of assistance with my technology. But nonetheless, I think I will get there soon enough, right? So last week, incidentally, I you had a guest lecture. I'm sure you enjoyed that, Dr. Fielding, and I'm sure he did quite an interesting thing, and that's fantastic. You've joined. All right, so hurry on, do it so I can't stop concentrating. All right. Well, despite the fact that we are few, I'm still going to move ahead and begin our program. Which I need to get off the participants on screen. All right. Um, Good evening again. As I said, we're going to I'm going to just go right ahead and start the program. Um, Despite the fact that we're few, I know a couple of people might be on their way or getting themselves together so that they can join. We will go right ahead. All right. So we are going to proceed, and therefore we will start our little housekeeping. I'd like to say welcome to everybody. Um, I'd like to say welcome if there are individuals who are just joining us for the first time. I'd like to say welcome to those persons who have been coming for quite a while. I'd also like to say welcome to the persons who actually were invited by somebody else. Irrespective, I'm still happy that you're here, and I'm looking forward to you visiting again next Thursday and the following Thursday and all the Thursdays for the rest of the week, for the rest of the year. And I hope that whatever we do here, you will benefit greatly, because the idea is that we are learning together, and in the final analysis, we are going to be able to maintain our bodies, prevent diseases, and live a more wholesome quality of life. All right. Um, as usual, just before we start, we usually like to invite the Lord's presence, as it is His mission that we are trying to fulfill here. Let us pray. Eternal Father and our God, we honor you and we worship you now, and we thank you for another moment in your presence. We thank you, Lord, for the opportunity that we have to not only worship you freely, but to commune with each other in this fashion, and to talk about things that will make us healthy and sustain us and prevent diseases in our bodies. Forgive us if we have failed you today, Lord, and help us to continue to grow in this mission, and help us to grow and to educate, and help us to get to the place where we can get that practical section out and up and running, because that is where we really want to go. Thank you for hearing, and thank you for answering, in Jesus' name. Amen. All right, so our little updates. The updates, I'm still working on getting our the practicals up. I really genuinely want to wanted to start before the end of November. Um, I'm still I'm still hopeful, and I'm still trusting the Lord that He'll find someone to, do that little part for me. Um, I want to I want to say that a little update is that this week was kind of very busy for me. When I say busy, I mean it was really one of those. I mean, it was one of those weeks that in the days, I literally forget that I had my phone. I just had so much to do this week in relation to it, to making products, getting them out. Um, and a lot of requests were coming and all of that. And then added to that, of course, I mean, I had members of my family were not very well. So this week was really, really a difficult week for me. Um, so much so that there were so many people that I wanted to get to, so many people that I wanted to call and to get back to, and all of that. I just got so overwhelmed that I just had to um take a break today. So I have to apologize to all the individuals that I promised that I would call this week. I usually try to keep my word, but this week I really was a little overwhelmed. I apologize. So I will start tomorrow, when it is that tomorrow is the me time. So I will start tomorrow to get to make all my calls and to get back to all the individuals that I promised to get back to. All right. Another update is that we are the programs, as you will recall, are going live, and they are on YouTube. So you can always check them out on YouTube. It's about education, so you can always go there and find them. And you can you can refresh hello you can refresh yourselves again when you go there and you find the videos. You can refresh yourselves, update yourself on the information. They are also on the website. And please remember that you can continue to explore the website, look at the things that you might find there. You can also send us emails, also join up and be a member of this wonderful little club. Not many people like these clubs. I don't know if I should call it a club or a community, but it's the Eden Jar community. So you can always join up and be a part of this community. All right. So I want to hear from the visitors. Let me see how many visitors we have here. Um, there are quite a few persons, but I don't think I think earlier on I saw quite a number of names that I'm not sure, I'm not acquainted with. But at this time, for a couple of minutes, I am going to give any visitor the chance um to talk with us, to um share with me who invited you, how you got to be a part of the community, how you know about the Thursday night here, and that sort of thing. Is there anybody here? Just unmute and just to share with me. Is there anybody here that is coming for the first time tonight, or can you check? Is there anybody? Huh? Huh? Demar. Yeah, okay. Demar. I don't remember seeing Demar before. Can you share with me how you got the invite to the club? All right. If you're not comfortable with that, you can my internet connection is unstable. Okay. Um, all right. Okay, so I think finally in our little housekeeping, last week we received a lecture from Dr. Price, and I did ask him to convey to you that we were going to continue to do live foods this week, but I want to switch live foods to next week, and the reason I want to do that is because this week I got quite a few calls and requests in respect of gluten-free eating and wheat sensitivity, and I got a whole lot of requests and orders from people who want me to make gluten-free stuff for them, breads, pastries, and foods. And because of that, I really thought I should push back live foods part two for another week, maybe next week, and focus on this gluten free, understanding the gluten sensitivity issue. It's amazing how many people are sensitive to gluten. It's also very amazing how many people are not aware that they are actually having a sensitivity when it comes to gluten. And because of that, we are suffering with a lot of illnesses that are induced by the inflammation caused by by our response to gluten. And so we are enjoying some difficult times with our health, and we are really not sure, and it's simply because of our sensitivity to gluten. All right, so I thought I would do that topic today, and then it's very practical today because we are going to be looking at it head on, what we must eat, what we must not eat. And I did leave a little recipe for a gluten-free bread at the end, which we will talk about. All right. Huh? All right then. Okay, so then I will move right along. So the big topic is gluten sensitivity. Now, what are we talking about when we start this big discussion about gluten sensitivity? And by the way, this is one of the newest passions of a lot of people now. Everything is gluten free and it must be gluten free. And a lot of people are just talking about this thing. They are going there, and in addition to that, they just it's amazing. People are finding out all across the world that they are just now realizing they are sensitive to gluten, and all along they were enjoying themselves having gluten. I mean, I'm one of those persons. I never knew I had an some kind of sensitivity to gluten until 6 years ago when I ended up with breast cancer. And which is why this is one of the areas that I am very, very passionate about, because what you eat, I believe, is what makes you. So we have to choose, and we have to be aware about what we are eating, how we are eating, how often we are eating, and what quantity we are eating, because whatever we do, our food has a lot to do with the kind of with our health and the quality of life that we will live. All right, we will have for a couple of years. And and the gluten sensitivity is one of the things that um can really propel high levels of inflammation in our bodies, and in that way we end up with a lot of different diseases, and we just don't know. So gluten sensitivity basically is a negative reaction that we have to a certain protein that is found in wheat and wheat products, and that protein is called gluten. It is found in whole grains, some whole grains, not all of them. The whole grains that it is found in are those that have wheat, or they are a relative of the wheat, or they belong to the family of the wheat grains, right? So things like spelt, rye, barley, and wheat berries themselves. You also find something called bulgur, stuff like those. Whole grains like those are actually carriers. The protein in those whole grains are actually is actually gluten. And many people incidentally have a sensitivity, so whenever they have to encounter anything to do with wheat or wheat products or wheat derivatives, they get very negative reactions. I personally am one of those persons, and it when I get to have something, which is why everything that I eat I have to watch the label, and I'm literally scared to eat out. So I spend most of my time having my food at home, or I travel with a little thing, right? Because it is a miserable experience when you start getting your episodes, right? Now, gluten sensitivity is often confused with celiac disease, which is not necessarily the same, right? Celiac disease is the other end of the spectrum of the gluten sensitivity. So you can have a gluten sensitivity, and yet you don't end up with way down the other way at the other end of this of the bar with the actual celiac disease, right? It is basically the more severe form of the sensitivity that is celiac, right? Now a lot of people confuse gluten sensitivity with a food allergy. We need to understand it is not a food allergy, okay? And incidentally, in countries, first world countries like United States, Europe, England, in America, the 1% of the entire population, that has been discovered, right? Those people that have known, they are 1%, 1% of the entire population. They now know that they are gluten sensitive. They have a gluten sensitivity. But of course, there are millions of others, but they have to get to the place where they do their tests and they find out conclusively by their medical doctors. In places like England, you have 2%. In all across Europe, I am not very privy the to the figures from the continent of Africa. I don't know. I am not very aware now, but I would imagine that they too have their have a population of individuals who are seriously sensitive to gluten. All right. Um, Gluten sensitivity can cause serious digestive problems, and it can cause very serious issues when it comes to your body and when it comes to your entire health. You can get into some serious issues, right? Now, what are the effects of gluten on gluten sensitivity on your health? Now, gluten, it can prevent the body from absorbing nutrients from the food, right? Because it's when it's present in your body, when you are sensitive to the ingestion of gluten. When you do that, what it does is that the protein, your body reacts to that protein, and when it gets into your body anyway, it blocks the absorption of the different minerals and vitamins and other nutrients that you would normally enjoy from eating eating particular foods, right? There are severe digestive problems that you can come across, and we will go into them a little later on. Um, Gluten sensitivity carry a very high risk of cancer. There's a very big relationship, positive relationship between those two, which is also one of the reasons why it's a passionate topic for me, and it's one of the topics that I really wanted to do in this whole group Zoom community meeting. All right. Now, cancer rates in gluten sensitive population were higher than normal in the research that was done by the American Institute of Cancer Research, the AICR, that's what they call it. They did some studies with mice, they did it with humankind, and they actually had a control group and they had a non-control group. And the group that that were gluten sensitive, that they actually fed with with different things and kept them under certain controlled and non-controlled circumstances. The group that had the sensitivity to gluten actually ended up with higher cancer rates. All right. So I want you to take a note of that. And the reason for this is that the gluten sensitivity can cause a lot of inflammation in your body. I mentioned that before, and because of that, it when we go a little further, we will talk about certain of those effects. It literally allows the body to turn on itself, right? So that is why if you it is best to know and be sure that you are not sensitive to gluten, because people like myself, I was not aware that I was sensitive to gluten until when I developed breast cancer, and it's when I was going through my treatment that they did the complete blood works on my body and discovered that I was very highly sensitive to gluten. And by the way, let me tell you, the gluten sensitivity is so miserable for me that if I have one single little thing, I have to literally live with at least a pound of charcoal in my house, because if I'm going to the hotel with my family, I have to travel with charcoal, because sometimes when you go, you don't know, sometimes you're not able to read all the labels when you're getting perhaps food at the hotels. You have to just pick around the vegetables or the fruits or the little simple things that like potatoes, sweet potato and pumpkin and stuff like that, and the vegetables. I have to stick to those, because if I get one little ounce of wheat or anything to do with gluten, and my episode start, it is a miserable experience. I can tell you, the chronic pain that you get in your body, and the dizziness, and you feel like you have this terrible perspiring. It's literally on overdrive. You are hot, you are tormented. It's like you have such fatigue, and it's like you're just so miserable. You want to tear your hair out. But none compares to the nausea and the chronic, I'm talking about seriously chronic pain that you get in your whole body here. I'm telling you, and it goes right down to my knees. I'm telling you, my muscles get weak. My body, I just have to lay down, drink my charcoal, and wait until it goes. I'm telling you, and it happens if you are sensitive to gluten, and you have any of these gluten things that you sometimes you don't know. But if you have any of this, if by chance you erroneously you have something with gluten, it starts within 10 minutes, anywhere from say 5 to 10 minutes of you ingesting that food with gluten. Your episode starts, and it can last for anywhere between 10 and 30 minutes. It just goes on and on. And one of the resting will help you if you don't go to the doctor. But one of the best things to do to use when you have such episodes is activated charcoal, and we'll talk about it later on. um, okay. No, yes. The time frame for your reaction. I think I preempted this. Thank you. I think I preempted this one. All right. If you have a gluten sensitivity, you might begin to have symptoms shortly after eating. For some persons, the symptoms start within a few hours after eating. For others, it can start up to a day after. For me, and for many others that I have been acquainted with, it starts within 10 minutes, right? And it is an extremely miserable. But this time frame for reaction, this, if you notice, I have quoted it directly from a research that was done by the Mayo Clinic, right? And a lot of good research and healthy research is being done all around by places like Harvard University, Stanford University, the Mayo Clinic, and the Health Line, the allergist, and the Mayo Clinic is one of the research institutions that I respect greatly, and I follow them literally so that I can be kept abreast of all these information. Of course, things like gluten sensitivity, you can get a lot of information. Well, I got a lot of information from Uchi Pines, and I always talk about Uchi Pines because that is where I got most of my training and most of my healing naturally when I was going through my cancer journey. Excuse All right. No, according to the Harvard University study, um, gluten does a whole lot of damage to your body. I keep stressing inflammation, right? Because that is the one that many of us are not aware of. A lot of us are walking around and our bodies are literally inflamed as high as fire, and we are not aware, and this basically comes straight from the foods that we are eating, the practices, the health practices that we are ignoring, and the practices that we are basically engaging in. And what is the reaction of inflammation? It's a natural response to immune system damage. So inflammation helps literally to have a negative effect on your immune system, and you do not want, no human being, if you want to stay healthy, you have got to feed the immune system. You've got to make sure that it is high, and it is in order, and it is well, because it is the immune system that fights for you when you get a lot of these diseases, right? And that includes cancers. Your immune system fights for you. Let me tell you something. A lot of us, every single every single human being, we have cancer cells form and reform in our bodies every single day, every single week, every month. You know why many of us, it doesn't come out into full blown growth, and out of control, bad boys running around our bodies? Because of our balanced, healthy immune system, right? So we have got to be careful, and we have to be aware of what we are putting into our bodies and the system. And by the way, the body is an entire computer. It's a network. Everything, it's like a car. Everything is connected to every single system is connected to each other. And because of that, you have to be careful with one system, because if you damage one, it can have severe effect on the others, right? And immune system is one of those systems. All right. Now, there's something called leaky gut, and this is a very dangerous thing. Of course, the medical doctors will tell you It's called intestinal permeability. What is that really? No, this is basically when bacteria and other germ and so forth become present in the intestinal areas, and they the intestines become susceptible to them, to these invading them, basically just get coming in. All right, for example, punching. You have a rubber tube and you have a safety pin. And the safety pin, not a safety pin, a common pin. And the common pin gets into that tube, and you can't control it anymore because you don't know where in there it is. And it just continues to work its way by punching, punching, punching all over the tube, and like a balloon, and it keeps punching it. And so what is happening is that it's leaving little holes everywhere it punches, and whatever is inside there is just leaking all over everywhere and causing great damage. That is what leaky gut basically is. And gluten sensitivity can cause this kind of damage, which is called leaky gut, right? Now, there is something called agglutinin, wheat germ agglutinin, and this is also one of the damage according to the Harvard University. And I think this is something that medical doctors, you can always ask your doctors about, because this is something common to their knowledge, right? Now, you have to understand that I am personally not a medical doctor, but I am trained in holistic nutrition, which gives me certain information and things that I have to learn, so that which relates to all of these things, right? Um, so agglutinin is one of those things, um, one of those reactions where it the gluten, the protein which is found in the wheat, which is the gluten, literally um inflames your own body cells and then cause severe damage to these cells. Now you know that when you have cell damage, you have to have cell repair, and this may not be the cell repair, depending on how you feed yourself and depending on how you treat what is inside the body. Now, it may either reverse the damage or it may reverse the inflammation. And having continually to ingest this kind of protein, which is a gluten, having continually to ingest this thing may actually cause further damage if you are not aware, or if you are aware but yet you continue. Let me tell you one of the things that people always say to me: I can't find anything to eat. And let me tell you, there's a lot of basis for this discussion, because really, the things that we are learning about with diseases that are coming about, and with all of the new technology, and with all of the multiple research that we are being privy to now, um there was a time when gluten sensitivity was never so prevalent, right? And so this kind of information would not have been readily available. But there are individuals who, when they say to me, I can't find anything to eat, I cannot disagree with them, because most of the world, I'm telling you, they are not able to provide or to prepare foods and to direct people in a more meaningful way, because they are really not tremendously wise or educated in terms of how to deal with gluten sensitivity, how to prepare foods, and how literally to make those amends that people need. And it's true that when you go out, I mean, when I go out of my house, if I don't take something, I can count. It's less than half of the fingers on one of my hand that I can literally find that somebody can say, "Boy, if you don't go out and have a salad or have fruits or have some potatoes. What else do you have? There are very few, if any, people who are really catering for individuals with such sensitivities, right? Which is why, as individuals, we have to learn and educate ourselves. And in addition to that, what we also have to do is we have to learn, we have to prepare our foods, prepare our meals, prepare everything that we need, that we can keep our bodies healthy, and we can also keep our bodies out of inflammatory damage and other inflammatory reactions. All right. Now, another damage to the body, according to the University of Harvard's research, is something called molecular mimicry. Now, that's a big medical doctor's word, and there are medical doctors present here on this platform here. Um, I will say I have every respect for you. Um, I will only relate to this to the simple extent that it that I have to relate in relation to my meeting here tonight. Um, Outside of this, I know this is a medical situation, all right? But molecular mimicry basically, let me tell you a little bit about this. There is something called gliadin that is present in gluten, and it runs into the bloodstream basically, and then it mimics the cells inside your body and mimics the natural. And then here's what happened now: the natural antibodies in your body that God made you with, that would normally fight for you and fight against invasive cells and invasive other systems and substances that will harm your body. What happens is that when gliadin that is present in gluten runs into the bloodstream, and then do all of this mimicry now, what happens is that the antibodies in your body that is meant to attack these bad boys that come in actually turn on the good cells and mimic and then attack the good cells. So basically the body turns on itself and attack itself. And that is what molecular mimicry is. And this is a very, very dangerous and damaging occurrence, because it can literally help to break down your body, right? And it opens it up now to other inflammatory kind of responses that cause further damage to your bodies, right? No, another damage that this does to your body is that it triggers type 1 diabetes. I was always afraid of cancer and diabetes, I'm telling you. But a sensitivity to gluten can trigger type 1 diabetes, and a lot of people really don't know. You end up with these things and you absolutely don't know. And I think now one of the one of the more serious thing is that, as I said to you before, gluten sensitivity can cause severe damage to the digestive system. And you will see in a note here that one of the damage to the body is that the gut flora. You remember I'm always talking about um, ensuring that we keep our body alkaline, ensuring that we have we get in enough probiotics to keep our whole the body's flora optimal and positive, and ensuring too that we keep our bodies in a certain state so that it's healthy and it is rejuvenated, and it is able to fight for us and fight with us. So that gluten sensitivity can damage the gut flora and damage our ability now to resist some of the issues that can develop when we have when we do not have sufficient, sufficiently positive gut flora. Remember now, I said in a number of sessions prior to this one, I said to you, I remember mentioning that a lot of the diseases that we have or we end up with has to do with what is happening in our digestive system, what is happening in our gut area, what is happening there. A lot of bad bacteria and a lot of other negative things that are present there. Those are the things that literally propels diseases. And also a lot of these things too can encourage unwanted mucus formation that can also propel us into inflammation and further diseases. All right. Now, what are the features of gluten sensitivity? I mean, when you have a sensitivity to gluten, these are some of the things that you will see. Um, I told you about the abdominal pains that I get, the chronic, I mean, gut wrenching pains. Let me tell you something. It's like, man, it's like breaking your rib. It is absolutely you don't. I just don't know if I can sufficiently describe it. Um, no, I'm telling you, it's just one of those pains. It's tremendous. Your entire body gets so numb, literally. It's like you can't feel. It's just very painful, right? Then you end up also with bloating and gassiness. Some you get this sensitivity, and you eat something with wheat, and you the next thing you know, you feel like you feel like your tummy alone gained 40 pounds. Then you have breathing problems. I always end up, it's like I have asthma all over again. You feel like sometimes if you're not careful, you'll think you have COVID. But it's just one of the reactions that you have. I mentioned earlier about the excessive sweating and the nausea and the weakness and the tiredness that you have. This thing is very serious, I'm telling you. And the reason that I'm very passionate about it is that so many people are walking around with a gluten sensitivity and they're not aware. They eat, they have all kinds of problems, and they just don't know that it is, they are not diagnosed, they don't know. And yet it is there with them and it's damaging their bodies and they can't understand, right? Some other features are, you can develop things like psoriasis from from just having a gluten sensitivity. Skin conditions, you get very depressed. There are so many things that you can develop from just having a gluten sensitivity. You have unexplained weight loss. There are individuals who have a gluten sensitivity and they just keep dropping weight, dropping weight, dropping weight, and you wonder they have no other complications. They don't have cancer. They don't have any, but they're just losing their weight just like that, and you can't understand until it is detected through a blood test that their doctors will do, right? I mentioned before the deficiencies in iron and other vitamins because literally this gluten sensitivity, this protein it blocks the body the body's response to absorbing the nutrients. So it literally blocks. So you end up being deficient in a number of the vitamins and minerals. And of course, the autoimmune disorders that we discussed a little earlier. Now, I talked about all of this numbness and aches and pains in the joints. Brain fog is like you can't think clearly. Let me tell you, when you get it, it's like when you get that when you get into that episode, it's like you don't even remember where you don't remember your name. It's just you're not sure. It's like you can't remember who you are. It's just a miserable experience. All right. And it's one of those things, it's one of those things that you can't cure. All that you can do is you can manage your body, manage what you put into your body, and you can live like that. Because really and truly, I find that living, enjoying just the vegetables and the tubers that the Lord, um just eating from the master's hands, I mean, it's so much more fun, and it's so much more enjoyable than a lot of the processed and manufactured foods that people are enjoying now, you know. All right, so in order for you to find out, you have to get diagnosed. And you can only you can only be diagnosed through the work of a medical practitioner. There are skin and blood tests, or blood tests, that they will do. And these blood tests, they have markers, basically markers that, when they use your blood samples and stuff like that, they it will indicate the markers, which will place you into the category of positive or negative, right? So you are positively, you negatively respond to gluten, this protein, or you positively respond to it, right? But you have to ensure that it is done by your medical practitioner, because you just won't know. And by the way, you can have a lot of these symptoms and it is really not a gluten sensitivity. So it's best to consult your doctor, right? um and sometimes you don't get diagnosed until after severe reactions. I did not know that I had a gluten sensitivity until after I had cancer. It was when I had after I had cancer, and they did the whole big complete blood works. A month later, they discovered that, oh, well, and I had one of those severe. I'm not at the point where I had celiac, but I'm at one of those severe, um, um, what should I say? I'm in one of those severe spots, right? Now, practically, let's get practical now. If you have a gluten sensitivity, these are the foods to avoid. And by the way, a lot of people, they just want to eat healthily. They may not have a gluten sensitivity, but they just want to live gluten free because of the many dangers that um gluten, this protein, can present. Okay? This is the way that you can go. There are many whole grains, incidentally, many whole grains that you, as someone with a gluten sensitivity, you must avoid. And all of the I have made the list right here. Some of these we don't have a lot in Jamaica, like farro and kamut and triticale, and a lot of these we don't. Things like rye and spelt, and well, we have a lot of couscous now, and it's surprising that people are not aware of just how healthy couscous really is. Not many people eat it because they like it, but not many people understand just how very beneficial couscous is to your body. Things like spelt and rye and stuff, you can get those at the health food store, incidentally. um Sorry, these are sold at the health food stores and people buy them from there. But these are some of the things that we have to avoid if we are going to live a gluten-free life, and if we have a sensitivity to gluten. I personally have to stay away from all of these. And you know what's funny? Prior to my illness, I used to love couscous, I tell you, because couscous is really, it has a beautiful, it's a real nice substitute for rice, and I hate rice really. It's I used to think of it the same way I think of millet and quinoa. They're all little tiny grains, but when all you need is about a half cup, and it gives you a whole lot when it's cooked. Really delicious though. Um, but incidentally, I can't have it because of my sensitivity. There are ready-made foods, manufactured foods, that I mean, and pastries that you have to avoid if you are going to live a gluten-free life. Things like white bread. Well, let me tell you, if you want to be healthy, avoid white bread for heaven's sake. Whole wheat bread. Um, no, potato. Let me tell you something about potato bread. Potato bread can be made without the wheat, but because it's easier for them to, when they're doing it, mass producing it, it's easier to add the gluten, which is to get the gluten from the flour, because potato has no gluten. And if you're making a bread, or if you're making these commercial pastries that which a lot of things have flour, almost everything. But the easiest way to get a potato bread is to add some white flour or some wheat flour to it, and you put the yeast in there and the salt and the oil, and you get a real nice potato bread. Add potato, you understand? You can just boil the potato and crush it, or you can use the potato flour, not the potato starch, the potato flour. But the commercially manufactured potato bread has white flour or wheat flour in it, right? Bleached flour. Then you have the rye bread. And of course, you can also make gluten-free rye bread. But the commercially manufactured things, it's easier and it's cheaper to use those things that with gluten, the grains with gluten, because it's really easier. I mean, you don't have to add anything to most people who are doing if you are going to be doing gluten-free bread, you use psyllium husk, which or you use xanthan gum or guar gum, and they give the same effect that the gluten, the protein that gluten would give you in the wheat products, or the wheat or the grains that are related to the wheat. All right, but it is cheaper, as I said to you before, to use the those that are all right. So sourdough bread and things like wheat crackers. Let me tell you, I used to love crackers. I think most Jamaicans love crackers. Most Jamaicans love crackers, right? And I used to love it many, many years ago. Lord, I tell you, I used to love to have pear and crackers. I tell you. And then all those days, I did not know that all I was doing was inflaming my body, even though I was having, even though I was having a healthy me, I was eating healthily, and I was a vegan and all of that kind of thing. Then sometimes you go out and a lot of people, you will go out and you're trying to find something to eat, and they have really nice wraps somewhere, and flatbreads and stuff, bagels. I mean, you have a lot of these really nice things, but if you are going to have a gluten-free life, you are going to have to find a way to have these things without the gluten. Now, I personally make a lot of gluten-free stuff, gluten-free bread, crackers. I make my flatbread, all of those things from all different types, potato, quinoa, all kind of things that I can find. And I still have a lot of these things. I still have my bread. Today I made a beautiful pumpkin and cornmeal bread, which was gluten free. And I tell you, I think I've had probably about 4 slices of bread from morning, that I am overrun with it. And then, of course, I also made another bread for myself, which is the quinoa and the millet. And I made a zucchini bread for myself this morning. And, that was quite nice to it. And it's also gluten free. Um, so basically, all of these things that you can have, that you are asked to avoid, these commercial baked stuff, you can actually make them gluten free. All right?
Sister Price, can I interrupt you a minute, please?
Yes, man, sure.
Are you saying that the whole wheat bread has gluten in it?
Yes, man.
The one that you have here? Yeah?
Sorry?
I don't know. No, you're saying that the whole wheat bread has gluten in it?
Yes, man. Anything wheat, there is
Uh-huh.
any wheat product. There is a
Has it?
protein that is present in wheat. That
Oh,
is
I didn't know
that
that.
is called gluten. Any
Okay.
flour, anything that comes from spelt, rice,
Mm-hmm.
wheat, and wheat products,
But I
and
thought they said
barley.
wheat was so good
Yes, no,
for
no.
us.
Let me tell you. No, listen, listen now. Here, listen this.
Mm-hmm.
Wheat is excellent because it is high fiber, but there are
Yeah.
some. It has a protein that that some people are alert that have a negative response to.
Oh, okay. Okay. I'm not hearing. If you're saying something, I'm not hearing you.
And many of you right here in this group, you have a gluten sensitivity and you are not aware. So I think that my response and responsibility is to educate every single individual about this possibility because it is a risk for people. But whole wheat is excellent. Excellent. It's high fiber, it's high protein, it has a lot of vitamins and minerals. It is absolutely fantastic. But there are individuals, as I said before, who do not respond to wheat and wheat products and wheat derivatives in a positive way, right? And that is why we have to talk about sensitivity to gluten. All right? Hello?
Yes, I hear you. Thanks.
Okay, yes. All right.
Yeah.
So there gluten is also present in a lot of condiments. Condiments. Things like soy sauce. Well, soy sauce, you have to be careful with soy sauce, whether or not you are gluten sensitive or not, because it is high salt, high sodium. You have to be very careful with soy sauce. There are low sodium soy sauce, or you can make your own soy sauce at home. Further on down, when we start doing the practical ones in the kitchen, I will show you how to make it, and you can make it simply with your own, with molasses at home, and stuff like that. You can make it, and you'd be surprised to see it's quite delicious, and you really don't have to go down the road of the high sodium soy sauce, right? A lot of these condiments that you see, if you notice, they are commercial, commercially processed foods. These sauces and dressings and marinades and stuff like that, and malted vinegar. And I gave you a number of I think I gave you a recipe some time ago for how to make your own ketchup at home, and some of those things, but we can always go back to them when we get into the kitchen, right? um no, there are baked goods that, if you're going to live a gluten-free life, you have to be aware that these are things, cakes and certain pastries, pretzels and donuts and pancakes and waffles. Mind you, all of these things can be made without gluten and without any kind of gluten derivative. Because, as I said to you, I live a gluten free life, and I still have cakes and pastries, but I make my own. For example, I tell you today, I made 2 breads for myself. So now I have enough bread in my fridge to last me for 2 weeks. You understand? Mind you, not everybody is sensitive to this protein, not everybody. But those that are individuals may have this sensitivity and they are not aware. And one of the damage that it can do to your body is to cause a lot of inflammation. Also, if you are not sensitive to gluten, then you may know somebody that is sensitive to gluten, right? The important thing is that we have to look and be educated to these things, because we sometimes, after a while of eating unhealthily, uh, or it breaks down our bodies, and we respond to foods with things like sensitivity to gluten, right? In the same way that when we, it's because for the most part, it's our lifestyle that gives us diseases like cancers and diabetes and heart problems. It is in the same way that it's our lifestyles that heralds things like gluten sensitivity. All right, pastas. Well, noodles, spaghetti. I mean, a lot of the Chinese foods like dumplings and stuff and other Asian cuisine. A lot of these things are loaded with gluten, and we have to go easy on them if we are going to be gluten free. And if we are not aware, we have to know our bodies. And the best thing I'm encouraging every member is to ensure that you consult with your doctor, right? A lot of the beautiful snacks around, these are the candy bars, the granolas, a lot of these things, the chips and stuff like that, a lot of them are not gluten free, and a lot of us are, we have them and we respond to them in a negative way, and we are not aware that we have these sensitivities. But if we do have the sensitivities, these are things we have to avoid. All right, if we are going to live gluten free. And by the way, individuals may want to live to have a gluten free life. You may want to live gluten free and you're not necessarily gluten sensitive. It's just a choice that people have, right? But the reality is you can have a sensitivity to gluten and you are not aware. All right, some of the beverages, most commercial commercially processed and manufactured beverages, right? They have a lot of, they have gluten. So if you have to be aware of all of these things when you are trying to find beverages. Make a little lemonade at home. That's the best thing. Drink a coconut water is the best thing, right? Those are wonderful things for you to have, because not only do you get the electrolytes but from your coconut water, but you also get a whole lot of vitamin C from your and immune system workout with your lemonade. Just go easy on the sugar, right? The commercial is I say commercial and processed foods, you have to be very careful. And a lot of individuals who we go out some of us, we go out and we have veggie burgers. A lot of the veggie burgers have are very loaded with gluten, right? And no, I'm not saying that these the veggie burgers are bad. I'm saying my duty today is to educate you on gluten sensitivity and helping you to become aware that this is a reality. All right. So having a veggie burger is not bad. But if you're sensitive to gluten, then you probably should avoid having commercial veggie burgers. So don't go to one of those fast food places and order a veggie burger, because you're going to end up. And you may go and have a veggie burger in one of those places and you react to these to after eating it, you react in a very very difficult way or painful way, and you get sick and you don't know, and really it's because of the sensitivity, your sensitivity to gluten, and you're still not aware, right? So a lot of these things that we have in, if you notice at the bottom it says flavored tofu, because sometimes tofu is flavored with soy sauce that also has gluten, right? So, what are the foods to eat? Whether or not you're sensitive to gluten, what are the foods to eat? Lots of fruits. If you notice, coming from the Father's hands, most fruits, vegetables, those things that the Father placed on the tree, placed under the ground, and gave us like that. Placed on a vine, most of them. We don't have to worry about being gluten free when it comes to being gluten sensitive when it comes to those things. Fruits, vegetables, tubers. I love sweet potatoes, so I mean it always has to be on the top, has to be on my list. Fruits and veggies, the broccolis and the cauliflowers, you have to put a lot of that in your diet. But things like these you eat and you never get enough of them, and they help you basically to build your body, build the cells. It helps to literally to clean the body. It helps to keep it healthy. It helps to keep the body out of inflammation, and it helps, and these help to keep your body alkaline, to keep your body out of excessive mucus formation, which also is damaging to the body. All right. Peas and beans and legumes, all of those, peas and beans, all types, gungo peas, split peas, I love those, lentils, I love those. And all of these, they serve different purposes in our bodies, and they are great choices for substituting those foods that are protein, that are gluten enriched. All right. But we need to be very aware, because one of the there's a big relationship between cancer and gluten sensitivity, inflammation, excessive mucus formation in your body, right? So I mentioned some of these grains before: quinoa and the millet and the oats and corn and so forth. These are great foods to have because they help also to heal your body. If you notice, a lot of the man-made processed commercial foods, they are really not healing foods, right? They satisfy hunger, but they are not healing foods, a lot of them. A lot of the foods, the natural foods, peas, beans, grains, seeds, nuts, they literally help to restore and to maintain and to rejuvenate and refresh the body, right? Proteins. No, I place this here that animal proteins are generally gluten free naturally, but they are dangerous to your health, right? Because as you know, I am promoting a whole foods plant-based diet, okay? Because that is the surest way to keep our bodies alkaline and to keep our bodies out of diseases such as cancers, diabetes, and all the others that we are so worried about now. Nuts and seeds, I mentioned earlier. Nuts, seeds, seasonings, uh, apple cider vinegar is one of the, it's not malted vinegar. Malted vinegar is there's a malted apple cider vinegar that is commercially produced, right? And malting is not the problem, but it is the grain that is malted. So it's the cheapest grain to use is wheat or barley. So those are the cheapest ones to use for commercial malting. So if you want to have a gluten-free life, you have to look out for these things, right? Um, and you will look at the list and you will see a lot of very healthy and and very nutritious and body repairing foods that that we need to keep in our bodies if we are going to preserve our bodies, restore and maintain our bodies, especially if we have gone through cancer, right? They are healthy fats, full fat yogurt, um, but the yogurts that we are mentioning here are those plant-based yogurts, right? Because the milk-based yogurt, they have a lot of difficulties and complications, right? And they also propel inflammatory responses in the body. All right. So things like cheese. Now, the cheese that we're talking about here is not the commercial cheese. It's actually vegan, plant-based cheese. Because again, the cheese that are made with milk are very harmful. Well, what should I, is it harmful that I should say? They have inflammatory and debilitating responses towards your body, right? So they can cause severe mucus formation and severe inflammation in your body. All right. So things like healthy fats like olive oil, avocado, nuts and seeds and nut butters that you can always make at home, and the nut and the avocado oil, and of course you can have unsweetened coconut and coconut oil. I use a lot of coconut. I use coconut oil, and I love coconut, especially jelly coconut. So these are healthy fats for your body, but of course everything in moderation. All right. No, management can range from the mild to the severe, and this is the anaphylaxis, right? This again is another um, medical term that needs medical discussion, right? But for our purposes here, we will mention it for your education, all right? One of the leading causes of life-threatening illness in first world countries is is severe reactions to these kind of food sensitivities, right? um no, if you notice, I have put on your screen, I have put something in quotes there. I won't read all of it. You'll be able to just look at it and read it, but this is a statement that came from the allergist and came from Healthline and came from Mayo Clinic about food sensitivities, right? All right. And these are something that we really need to be aware of, because food sensitivities that, and especially a lot of them that we're not aware of, these are things that are causing us great inflammation, great cell damage, great mucus. And let me tell you, a leading cause of diseases too is in our lives is our lifestyle. And lifestyle meaning introducing or living according to a nutritional plan that involves a lot of foods that are mucus bearing. All right. Let me tell you, there is something called the master cleanse, and we will talk about body cleansing in another program. And I will give you the recipes and so on of how to do some of these cleanses. But of course, if you're on a whole life, if you're on a whole food plant-based diet, you don't need to do a lot of these cleanses. You can probably do once in every 2 or 3 months, because the food that you eat, the kind of food. And I tell you something, even though there is the protein that is present in wheat that some people respond to in a negative way. It, the wheat is such a high fiber food that it acts like a broom, like a sweeping broom when it gets into things like the intestines. It literally just cleans and cleans and cleans. Um it's like a broom, because it's high fiber, right? So it's not all bad, right? Now, according to the Mayo Clinic again, if you look, you will see there if there is a statement in relation um to gluten and wheat. A lot of the prescriptions that you're getting, and the the medications, the drugs and stuff like that, they're actually made from, and supplements, they are actually made from wheat and wheat related foods and grains. So if you want to to have a gluten-free life, then, and many of us, I'm telling you, we are walking around and we don't know that we have a sensitivity to wheat, to gluten. It's really just the protein in the wheat. a lot of us, we don't know that we have that sensitivity. But it is important that we take note and that we make sure that we check with our doctors. And as a matter of fact, you don't have to wait to get you don't have to wait until you get an episode before. You can actually just have a routine check with your doctor and do the necessary blood cultures and stuff to make sure that you are not sensitive to things like to things like this protein. All right, just for because you want to remain healthy, okay, and you want to avoid some of the complications that can come with gluten sensitivity. All right, so there are precautions that you can take at home. You just have to avoid your exposure to gluten, and you have to be aware that there can be cross contamination in food preparation, both at home and when you go out to eat, right? You have to store things in different places so that things are not getting in touch with each other. And when gluten is if you are sensitive to gluten, it is so difficult that um you have to prepare even the surfaces that you work in. If you are using if somebody is sensitive around you, or if you yourself is sensitive and you have a family to prepare for, you literally have to to clean up the area that you work in with the gluten in order for you to accommodate a gluten-free area to prepare the gluten-free foods, right? It's really a very the gluten sensitivity is of such that you have to just be on the high precaution, right? Now, the risks. um Gluten-free foods are naturally rich in all of these minerals. As I said to you, these are natural foods, that fruits and vegetables and nuts and grains and seeds. And these are gluten-free foods are naturally rich in these, right? Now, for the risk is if you have a sensitivity to gluten and you're continuing to have it and you don't know, what will happen is that it will help to prevent your body absorbing these minerals when you get to eat them in your meal, right? So that is why it is important for us to be aware. And if we are aware that we have a gluten sensitivity, we need to take the precautions, right? The benefits of a gluten-free diet, it's a weight losing diet. It's magnificent. It overall improve your health, um your gastrointestinal health, and your general athletic performance, physical performance, right? Mind you, I'm not purporting that a whole food plant-based diet that is not the best. I'm purporting generally that this is the better way to go. But I'm also educating us on that there is the very likely possibility that many of us we have a sensitivity to gluten, which is very dangerous to our body, um, right? If we have it and we don't know, okay? So we really should get ourselves checked out at the doctor, all right? Now, the cost of living gluten free generally is much higher, right? But a lot of these costs can be alleviated by just making things at home and working with the dietitians and working with holistic nutritionists that are trained in holistic nutrition, right? We have very few of them in Jamaica, very few of them, but I think we can find them if we get to the place, and especially individuals who are going through cancer, who are recovering, who have recovered and are just maintaining their bodies. It is very important that you get to this point of consulting with your doctor to make sure that this test is conducted, right? What if you ingest gluten and you have a sensitivity? Drink plenty of water and stay hydrated in order for you to flush your system of it. Get plenty of rest because that numbness and exhaustion that you're going to get from that episode. Take activated charcoal, at least 1 teaspoon to 5 ounces of water, and heal your gut with some probiotic foods or some foods that are easy on the stomach, such as nut milks and so on, right? How long does it take to heal? Anywhere from 2 weeks to 2 months to 6 months to 3 months to 6 months. Anywhere from those. And that's according to us to research that is done by Stanford University. I can personally tell you that when I get into an episode up to 2 weeks and I'm still reading from it, right? So I can personally tell you because I experienced this. Okay. Now, what must I do now? I have been talking about this from the start to now of this lecture. Be aware, know your body, check your body, get your doctor to help you to check your body, do a complete blood culture, and be sure that you don't have a sensitivity to gluten. Because if you have a sensitivity to gluten and you continue to have it, then you will end up on the wrong side of the wall, right? And you don't have to be sensitive to have the symptoms I had mentioned before, because you can have numbness and nausea and you're really not sensitive to gluten, right? Eat to be healthy. That is one of the things that we have to do. Eat to preserve our bodies, eat to be optimally healthy. Now, the final thing I want to do this is to give you the time, if you can, to make a copy of this beautiful recipe from my of one of my gluten-free breads. This is basically one that I have made before, and so you can write it, or you know what, you don't have to write it. What you can do is just go back and watch the YouTube after this. Watch it after this, because remember, we're live. You can watch it after this, and then you'll be able to get all of the ingredients and how to do it. All right. And I want to say thanks to you all. Thanks, first of all, to our Heavenly Father for His unceasing love and wisdom. And I always have to remember to say thanks to Him every night. um, to all those lovely researchers at Stanford, Harvard, Healthline, and Mayo Clinic, and the allergists that I am privy to, and all of these research that I constantly read and research, because I really want to have a wholesome, balanced, good quality of life, especially after the fact that I have gone down a particular road. So I now want to preserve myself and to help others to preserve themselves. So I do a lot of research when it comes to natural health. But I don't just read everything and I don't just believe everything. I have specific areas and researchers and institutions that I respect and that I will follow. Uchi Pines is one of them. I love Uchi Pines and all the research that Dr. Agatha Trash has done. I am a product of Uchi Pines, so I can speak very boldly about that. I am very keen on Ellen White's research on natural health and simplicity in health. I'm also very, very keen on people like Professor Hans Deal, Dr. Hans Deal, all his research on natural health. And these are people that I trust. I have lived what they have researched and put out for others to learn from. And I am actually a product of a lot of these research, because a lot of these research are done through UT Pines, and I basically was restored, and I am here today because largely of Uchi Pines and God's grace and anointing that He has put on that place. All right. To you, our visitors, I am always grateful for you, and all the members that are now a part of this wonderful community. I look forward to seeing you every Thursday and to hearing from you every Thursday. And I'm very, very happy that you will continue to come. Next week, Thursday, I'd like you to come, take a friend. I am going to be going back to the live foods, having live foods, eating that way. And I'm going to be going through some recipes. I'm going to be going through some of the things that I make. I'm going to make a lot of the things during the week so that I can show you and so that you can become aware and you can also try to insert these things in your diet as much as possible. I'm sorry, as much as possible throughout the week, and so that the more frequently you do it, then the better it will be for you, and you will literally grow into it as part of your general lifestyle. So I want to say thanks to Dr. Curtis and Abby. And as usual, I tell you, everybody, the great, ever faithful technician, Sister Gabrielle. Oh man, I tell you, she never fails me. All right. So thank you all very much again. Thank you for being here. Thank you for coming. I am inviting you again back next week, next week, Thursday at 8 o'clock, God willing. And we are picking up on a very heavy topic again, live foods. And please take your pens and your paper if you want to write, because um we will still we will we will still go live again. We will still go live again, so you can always download the information. But we will come together and talk and share and learn more and grow more. So I'm asking each person to take a friend next week, so we can have 50 people next week. That would be very nice. All right. So I'm going to open up now for any individual that may have a question or
It's a surprise.
hi.
These presentations, where can we find them? Because I'm not seeing it on YouTube.
Yeah, man. We do the they're live on YouTube, man, and I do them live, and then they are,
On the
and then
same
you can
Eden
also, and
Foods.
Eden Joy Whole Foods. You can they're also placed up on the website too. And I was trying to send them out via the emails, but
Yeah.
incidentally, they're too big for the emails, so a lot of people are not getting them when I'm
So
sending
couldn't
them
you
out.
zip it?
I'm sorry.
Couldn't you zip them?
Oh
When
well,
they're when the
I can
files
I
are usually too big, you can zip it.
all right. Well, that I can certainly try to send them via the zip method. I didn't
Yeah.
even remember about that way,
Okay.
but I can certainly try to send it that way. That would
Yeah.
that would be an yes, for sure.
Yeah, that should work. Yeah.
Yes, but you'll have to give me some time though now to send those out, because it's gonna take us some time. It's 12 presentations to go out now.
Wow. Yeah. That's going to take
But
some
but it
time.
is on but really, you can you it is on YouTube,
It is,
because
well, I'm going to look again because I went on it this evening earlier and I didn't
huh?
see it. I didn't see it. I just saw an interview with you and Observer. I didn't see
Oh,
anything else. Yeah.
because these are actually going live now, and when we are done,
Oh,
they are usually just uploaded to I wonder if you could look at Prepare to Live. Is it that? Is it
oh,
Prepare to Live
oh,
or
if,
Eden
oh, if I
Joy?
type in that, prepare to live.
Oh, my daughter says it's Eden Joy Whole Foods.
You enjoy. That's
Whole
the one I
Foods.
typed in though. In YouTube. I went to YouTube and typed in that.